Well, welcome back everybody. Got a new game we're going to be looking at this time. We're going to be looking at a game from years ago. This one's one of the oldest recorded games out there. This one was played as Greco as the white pieces. And as the black pieces, they don't actually know his name, so they just call him No Name. I'm not actually a huge fan of Greco because, I feel like some of the games, the quality is not as high for beginners. It's really good to look at his games, but the only thing is if you go back to the time period where he played and you had a player that was even maybe 1600 on today's rating scales, they'd be like a grandmaster back then. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like looking at games from back during that time period as much. But it's a great game for showing the the imbalances and some of the basics and the principles and things like that. So that's why I'm going with this game today. That was played by Greco. Oh, by the way, quick update. So my healing's going pretty well. I'm kind of able to move around without the sling, so that's good. So my arm's getting better. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at this game. So remember, Greco's the white pieces. We don't know who the black pieces were though. So we're gonna start off with pawn to e4 here, pawn to e5. And so as we see, this is great for the basics. We're seeing, okay, the pawns come out, control the center. The knights come out. We develop our pieces. We actually see the Gioachino piano being played. So yeah, we're following the basic opening principles of developing pieces, controlling the center. And we're going to see that Greco does a little bit of a better job with this. So let's go ahead. So knight to f6, and here's what happens. So the pawn moves to d4. We get a bigger center. And we're going for the center control. Now, most players, would do something like bishop to b4 here and give a check. And, something like that. We'd probably see, the version that, players actually still play today. That's kind of common, and then you get the isolated pawn and things like that after the bishop d2 and then the knight takes and all that. But here we start to see some of the passive moves that are going to become a problem for the black pieces, and this is just kind of handing the white pieces a better position. And so here we go. Right from the start, we're going to see these two pawns in the center just kind of take control of the game. And this is one of the main points of this game, actually, is having a strong center. Some people will call these a pawn phalanx. There's different words people will use. I always call these a pawn phalanx because like the Greek soldiers that would stand next to each other with the giant shields and spears and things like that, and they'd march together. So these pawns. They march together and they control the center. And, this pawn moves to e5, and now, okay, where does this knight go? Well, this knight doesn't exactly have a great many squares that it can go to. So it just decides to go back to the g8 square. He's setting up for the next game. Again, kind of passive. And then, what happens? Well, the pawns continue to march. This is the strength of the center pawns. And then this knight doesn't exactly have a great many of squares to go to either. He could either go back to b8 or he could go to e7 as is played in this game. And then the pawn moves to d6, a further march of the pawn. Notice that these pawns just kind of kept marching down the board. And now it's all the way to d6. Okay, the knight comes back to c6, and one problem is, where is this bishop ever going to develop? That's just a strategic problem as well. And that would be an enormous strategic problem, that they would have to deal with. And they also have this tactical problem. Queen to d5. We develop the queen while making a threat. And that's what you need to do. Whenever you can develop your pieces while creating a threat, you should always do so. By the way, when you have two pieces lined up moving in the same direction, we call this a battery. For anyone that didn't already know. Okay. So now we're faced with a problem. How do we defend this checkmate on f7? Well, you can't really use the black queen to help out. So the knight comes to h6. But the problem is we can just remove the defender. We can just remove the defender by taking with the bishop, And now we've removed the piece that was preventing the checkmate on f7. So now what do? Well, you can't capture this bishop because then you just get checkmated. So the only option is to just kind of admit the loss of a piece in order to stop the checkmate. Bishop takes g7. Okay, the knight moves to b4. And yeah, this is not looking very good for the black pieces. So the rook moves to g8, and then after bishop to f6, this is where the game ends. And it's not too hard to really figure this out because you know, what's gonna happen with this queen? Where's she going, right? She's attacked by this bishop and not really anywhere to run. So that's where this game ends. This old classic game that was played by Greco and NN, or No Name. You know, he's got a lot of losses in the database. You know, maybe someone should give him a win. But anyways, you know, that's going to be it for this game. So you can see that this really did help, you know, really show some of the principles, develop the pieces, control the center, and we saw these pawns just march down the board and kind of overtake the game. Alright, so that's going to be it for this one. So, yeah, thanks for watching.